In this presentation, we will record 2 more receipts of payment. In other words, we have an invoice that went out in the past, and we're going to be recording the receipt of payment at this time. Let's zoom into it with Xero. Here we are in our Get Great Guitars file. Let's first open up our trial balance. So we're going to go to the Accounting tab. We're going to go on down to the reports. We're going to be taking a look at the trial balance. Note, when we do this, you could just look at the balance sheet if you want to as well, because we're only going to be dealing with the balance sheet accounts. We'll talk about that as we go. We'll be opening up the trial balance, and there it is as it opens up, or when it opens up. We're going to duplicate it by right-clicking on that tab up top, and we're going to duplicate that tab up top. Trial balance to the right, the data input to the left. Just a quick reminder of the flow chart that we're going to be working on. If we go on back to our QuickBooks desktop, just to take a look at the flow chart, that's what I'm using this for only. If we look at the customer section there, we have the invoice that happened in the past. Now we're going to receive a payment on it. That's where we're at this point. In other words, we billed the client for a guitar and what that they bought in the past, and now they're going to be paying it. And we could, at this time, have the option of putting that money into the bank account directly within the system, or putting it into a clearing account. It depends on how this is going to be reflected on the bank statement. And our goal is to reflect it on the bank statement in the same format in our system so that we can reconcile. In order to do that, we're going to be using a clearing account just to practice doing that, because that can be a little bit confusing, and so we want to just get used to or see the idea, the concept of that. So here's going to be our trial balance. Let's bring the trial balance up to January. I'm going to bring it up to on January 31st. Trial balance for January 31st. What's going to happen when we do this? It's going to be increasing the clearing account, and then we're going to put it into the checking account when we group them together and actually go to the bank in accordance with where the deposit will be. The other side's going to be decreasing the accounts receivable. Let's go on over to the first tab then and do the actual transaction. Back to our dashboard. So we're going to open up the old dashboard. Then we're going to go down to the people owing us section. So invoices owed to you. We want to go to the invoices owed to you, meaning us, like our company. And then we're going to the awaiting payment section. So we want to be in the awaiting payment. Now we're considering this one down here, the Jones guitar for the $7,000. So we're going to imagine we received a payment for that. Now we're going to check this off. Remember that if you wait till the end of the day and you get multiple deposits, you could group them together. And this would be another way that you can attempt to put them into the bank in the same format as you have received them. In other words, if I wait till the end of the day and I have these deposits, and I group them together in this way, and then basically go to the bank and deposit them in that format, then I can make this deposit and kind of group them together and put them right into the checking account. But if I have like cash or other types of stuff that makes that a little bit more difficult to do as I enter the transaction, then I can put them, as we'll do here, into the clearing account. So we're going to do them in that fashion. I'm going to pick up the $7,500. I'm going to click on it. Imagine we got the payment, but we haven't yet put it into the bank, so we're going to put it into kind of our holding account. If I scroll down to the bottom of this form, then we have the amount paid. Now remember, if they didn't pay the full amount, you could put something other than the full amount. There'd still be an amount due. In other words, $7,500. If they only paid $7,000, they'd still owe $500, and so on. We're going to put the full payment down here. That's the default when you go into the amount paid form. Then I'm going to say the date that was paid. We want to pick the date of, let's say the 12th again. We've got a lot of stuff happening on the 12th. And then we're going to say the paid to. This is the key. We're going to be taking this to the clearing account as opposed to the checking account, so that we can put it through this holding account and then group them together into the checking account. So what's this going to do? This is going to be, it's going to be increasing the clearing account and decreasing accounts receivable. Let's go ahead and add it and then check that out. So we're going to go ahead and add that. Then we're going to go to our trial balance. We're going to refresh or update the trial balance. Going to hold down Control and scroll up a little bit, and now we have the clearing account going up. We're imagining we're holding on to these checks or cash or whatever payment that we have received. We haven't yet put them into the bank, and that's why they're in basically this holding account. And so there is the $7,500. If we go back, notice that the account source type is receive payment. If I go back, then the other side is going to be bringing down the accounts receivable. So the other side should be in the AR or accounts receivable here. So I'll select the accounts receivable so we can look at it and see if it is indeed in there. We should see this 7,500 with a decrease. So there's the 7,500 decreasing the accounts receivable. We put in all these transactions in as 12th. That's why they're in a different order. Like this one could be on the bottom, but they're all in as of the same date. So there is that. Going to go back then to the trial balance. We're then going to do it again. So I'm going to go back to the first tab and let's go back to our dashboard. So let's go back to the dashboard. Let's look at those amounts that are owed to us. So within the old dashboard, I'm going to hold down Control and scroll down so it pops up on this side. And here's the invoices owed to you. That's where we want to be. We want the ones owed to us because we got payment and we want to apply it out to the invoice that was owed to us, but we now have the payment on. We're then going to go to the awaiting payment, and the other one we got is this 8,000. So we're going to say that one's the one we got. I'm going to go ahead and select that item, go down to the bottom of it, and we're going to say we got the full 8,000, so the amount paid. The date on this one, let's make it something different here. Let's do it to the 13th this time. And then we're going to say the paid to, and once again, go into that clearing account, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the payment. So this will decrease the receivable, put it into that clearing account once again. Back to the trial balance, updating the trial balance so it'll reflect the transaction that we have. We now have in the clearing account that $20,500. This $8,000 also being a component or part of that $20,500 reflected here. So here's the $8,000. Back up top. The other side then go into the accounts receivable. So if we go on down to the accounts receivable, we are going to go into here. It's going down a lot. We only have 865 as a receivable now because we've been collecting some big ticket line items for us. And there's the 8,000 there. Going back up top, we can then support that receivable. If I go back to the first tab and then we go to the accounting drop down and take a look at our reports and see if we can look at some supporting reports, supporting documentation for who owes us what. Let's go to the detail report this time. Go to the aged receivable detail report, opening that item up. Scrolling back down, and this is all that we have left. Anderson here and the Jones guitars, and that's adding up to that $865.05. That's the amount that ties out then to the $865.05 here. Now, if we want to see the detail of the amounts that have been paid off, we can then go back to our dashboard and we could go into those invoices that have been paid. We can go to the invoices owned, and we have the amount that are awaiting payment, and then we have the amounts that have been paid. So we then could go up top to the amounts paid up here. We can see the see all item as well. If we go up to the amounts paid and select that item, then we have our invoices that have been paid here. If I go back, so you can see the the detail in that format. If we go to the all transactions, we can see all. This then shows the amounts, the ones that were paid, and then the two that are awaiting payment. We can also, of course, if we go back to our dashboard, consider this information by the contacts. So I could go into particular contacts and say I want to go into the contacts. Let's go into the customer contacts. And we could go into the detail by basically the customer contacts. Now I'm down to the 3 customers. We could go to all up top if we want to say all of the information. And then I believe the one of the items that we paid off, that last 8,000, was from Smith. So if I go down to Smith down here and take a look at the detail related to that customer, we can then go down and we see the invoice and the invoice payment down here. So just note when you're in this tab on the contacts tab, how they're kind of using, how you group or categorize the customers and the vendors. Basically, if something, everything, let's go back in here. Everybody is a contact, and then basically if there's transactions involved that are customer related, they're going to drop down to the customer side, and if there's vendor transactions, they'll be active in the vendor side of things. So just realize that you want to have some interplay between the customers and basically all contacts up top.